Aloha Kohala. It is 3 o'clock on August 21st. Oh, isn't that funny? I thought it was the 20th. August 21st, 2024. You're listening to KNKR LP, 96.1 FM Kohala. This is Eila Allgood with
Michál Anna.
And we're doing Intuitive Talk Story today, live and in person.
Yes, here we are.
Yeah.
End of August. Wow, I mean, not the end of August. Where are we?
Well, no, it's
almost getting
it's
close.
Nearing the end of August.
Nearing the end.
A lot of things been going on energetically, personally, and globally.
Well, we are in the back of this amazing watery super blue moon. And it was a real watery moon. Some emotions, and a lot of people I talked to were feeling emotional, feeling that flow. We did a really beautiful, in my meditation group that day, I did a Living Waters heart meditation and really cleaning out any sadness or any places that we're still purging from this whole year cycle that we're kind of coming into a new section of, which is kind of exciting. But if you've been on the purge in 2024 and have felt a lot of shifting, a lot of movement since really January 2024 up until now, if it feels like it's been like, whoa, I have been throwing things and purging things, and there seems to be a shift now, which is this blue moon now giving us a chance to release anything else, and then really kind of step into what you may have already known you were purging from, or working towards, or wanting, or working towards embodiment. And I think I think it's a really incredible time. Did you feel any kind of that moon energy?
I did. I went out to the. I've been going outside a lot late at night to look at the universe. Just look at the universe. It's a very glorious experience. And the other night I went out and I just started talking to my mom. My mom's been gone a long time, and I had some emotion come up around that, tears. And I felt I was like, is this really about her? This is really about just grieving. And I find that there's this magic that happens, that when I release like that, so much more can come. If I'm kind of ignoring my emotions, if I'm pushing them aside, or I don't want to feel it, I get it's like a clog. It's like a drain gets clogged. And when I allow myself to feel the joy as well as the sadness, but sadness is the one that sometimes we resist more. When I allow that to happen, after or even during it, I can feel like this release, and then there's just so much more spaciousness in my being for whatever the universe has. So that's a little bit of what I experienced the other day.
I really love that story. And I was also been out under the sky at night, and two things. One, that moon was amazing on the actual full moon night. I was out weeding actually like 3 a.m, because it was just so beautiful, and it was so magical.
So bright.
It's so bright, and there was a lot of weeds I need to clean up. So I thought, why not?
A lot of the critters sleeping then? Does that make it easier that way? Or?
No, it's just beautiful, and I wanted to be outside, and I'm kind of a Virgo that way. Got to get something done.
Get it done while you're out there.
Get it done while I'm out there enjoying. But I love what you were talking about processing this sadness, and then being able to have more space and clarity, because when we don't process our sadness and we kind of stuff it somewhere, it actually comes out somewhere else. I just had that happen to me. When I was working outside, I wasn't at night. It was the other day, though, maybe 2 days ago. And I'm just cutting and clearing ironwoods, and I'm just kind of going for it as a banyan vine in my mind. And I just cut. And it's actually this lilikoi that I've been caring for like a long time, maybe at least a year. And I've even put up a bamboo for it to trellis on this bamboo. And I felt horrible. I felt a lot of sadness. I actually went into my house and got like human bandages, like the bandages, the stretchy kind. And I went back and I bandaged the places where I cut it to try and like see if it would grow back together. Like sometimes, things do that.
Yeah.
And so I bandaged them up, and I felt really sad about it, but I didn't even really realize how sad I felt until the next day, which was yesterday. And I kind of, and yesterday was a really emotional day. I don't know if anybody else had that going on, but I kind of had a couple scratchy interactions. And I think I was still feeling this kind of angst from this cut because I then went outside and worked in the yard again to take down some bananas. And I took that machete, and luckily it hit the banana. I cut through the banana first, and then it hit my leg. And it's my right leg, which is like stepping forward into the world. Like, what are you doing? What are you out there doing? And at first when I hit it, I just thought, oh, whoops. And I'm in my mind, it's the bunt of the machete that hit me, not a blade.
Right.
I'm thinking, oh, that hurt. Yeah. And then I'm standing there, I'm clearing, I'm just going to keep working. And then I think, I'm like, wait, I cut through the banana. That's the tip of the knife. Yeah. I look down and I'm like, oh, oops. I cut it. Yeah. And so I immediately ran inside and pushed it together. It's not super, super deep, and it's not super big, but it's a cut enough. And I just said, I'm going to push them together like it never happened. And I have these little sutures that are like mini sutures that bandages you can use. And, sometimes if you catch it right, you can just, if you don't put anything in there, it'll just heal back together. So I put the sutures on there, and it was still hurting. And I went immediately. So this kind of goes into, what do we do when we're feeling challenged? Do we just go and like right then I could be like, man, I could really have hit myself on the head more and been like, geez, I'm so stupid. Could have done a lot of self-hurt. Yeah. And instead
criticism.
I chose to do is like, okay, I did the right thing. Let me get it bandaged. Put some ice. I need to sit down and relax. Obviously, I'm going too fast. Let me sit. I sat, put my leg up, put some ice on it, just thought that might help solidify it in. And then I put on the meditation that I actually recorded that I did with everybody else the day before. I put it on for myself. Yeah. And then I did my own meditation. Yeah. And I went through that and let go of a lot. My leg actually stopped hurting. Yeah. I felt better. Yeah. And felt better. And then I really realized later when I was in another meditation in the day, I started crying because I realized that I had cut my leg because I felt so bad about cutting the lilikoi. That I was so mad at myself that I actually cut myself. And so that was this unconscious
very unconscious
thing underneath that I was, and I cried like heavily in the meditation about the lilikoi. Yeah. And I went, wow, like I was really affected by that. Yeah. Which is, I cared so much about this plant that I was caring for.
Well, you had nurtured it.
Yeah. And it really meant a lot to me. So the reason I share that story is to realize that we may be dealing with something that we don't even understand like that. Like we have to pay attention to these moments and give ourselves the opportunity to feel it, that I really had all this care about the lilikoi. Another person might be like, well, it's no big deal. Whatever. Come on, grab your stuff. Let's go. Nobody was there. But let's just say if you live with people, we often brush aside moments.
Or this was my experience as a parent. I didn't want my child to suffer. So I would say, oh, it's okay. It's okay. No, don't worry about that. It's okay that you cut the lilikoi. It's going to grow back. It's just a plant. It doesn't allow the person to feel what they need to feel. So we can do that with ourselves. We don't allow yourself that the depth of what you need to feel over whatever it is.
Well, and that's actually a really great advice for a parent too, from a parent, that, wow, it's nice to, give a little more space, like what's actually going on, or with a friend or a sister or a brother or a partner, ask one another too. If you're with people, we can be more inquisitive because it opens up our compassion. I realized during this year, I've really realized how little people are able to move into their compassion because mostly everyone's dealing with their own wound. So most people aren't in a place of compassion. because it's hard to actually care about other people if you are yet just still surviving or, moving through your own traumas and wounding. You think just about yourself.
I think particularly if you're not conscious that you're dealing with wounds. Something that I've been learning recently is if I might have some stuff and you come in and you have your stuff, if I can put my stuff aside so I can hear you, and it has nothing to do with me what you're sharing and what you need, I can go back to me later. But right now, in order to be in compassion with you, I need to put me and whatever aside, or I have to say, I can't listen right now. Like, we need to be conscious enough of that, because we always have stuff that's going to come up. Right?
That happened exact thing happened with a colleague situation. This week, totally, where something was coming up, but it was, I'm the one who had some of the some of my own emotions are coming up around things I'm having to meet and deal with, and yet the person I was speaking with, wasn't in the position at that moment to be able to quote unquote hold space, which is really what's required at that point. It's like, don't take me personal, like just listen, like you're saying, and realize this is just my thing, and then respond without moving into the, moving into it with me. But often what happens is, because we all have wounds, someone's thing, my thing, just so happens was hitting their thing. So now they're getting their wound was actually getting activated, so they did take it personal. And now they're reacting to me when it wasn't about them at all. And I'm like, wait, this wasn't even about you. I'm the one that's having the hard time, not you. Why are you getting involved? Like, I'm the one with the problem.
And their reaction had nothing to do with you. It's
their own wounding.
It's wound stuff.
Correct. Yeah. But they don't see that either, because in order to see that, you have to be pretty willing to acknowledge that we're all dealing with trauma and that our mother-father issues are kind of a constant thing. So most people don't really understand that they're always dealing with mother-father issues until you're not. So so if we could all get on page 1 together and go, you know what, folks, and this is kind of like what's the movement that's happening now, is understanding that, hey, wake up call, everybody's got trauma. Everybody's coming from trauma. It's not like, ooh, are you from the crazy house, or those weird people over there? Everybody, it doesn't matter if you're rich, if you're poor, if you're what race you identify, you're what gender, it doesn't matter any of these things. We all come from trauma. And if we could acknowledge that as a society, that, hey, we're all dealing with trauma, then we would take a whole lot less personal. People are doing a lot of acting out there like we're all supposed to have it together. Yeah. Well, we don't all have it together. Most people don't have it together. Everyone is dealing with something. They got a brother, a mother, a sister, a son, somebody who's got something going on, or they're dealing with it themselves. So if we could all, hey, let's step out of the shadows and say, we're all dealing with stuff. It's more like, hey, Eila, what are you dealing with today?
What's it for you today?
Yeah, and how are you really doing? Like, is there a way I can help you out? Is there a way, what can I do for you?
Yeah.
We're all dealing with stuff. And when you, start being snappy and go, wow, you must be having a hard time, instead of taking you personal and go, gosh, you must have had a rough morning. You're right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to get involved by taking you personal. Like, why are you going to talk to me like that, Eila? Now we're having a problem, and actually I could be supportive for you.
Right. Now we're just piling on stuff.
Now we're piling on problems.
One of the things I've been looking at lately, because I become more and more aware of my own stuff and, what happened when I was 5 or 6 or 7, and who and how did that affect me. And again, it's really important to me to stay away from blame. Well, I'm looking at my kids now. Like, I'm the mom that raised them, and I know I wasn't perfect. And even if I was perfect, it wouldn't have been perfect. And so I ask them periodically, I'm like, you may have stuff come up from your childhood, and I just want you to know, if you need to talk to me, you can talk to me. Because I won't take it personally, because I know I wasn't perfect. And sometimes being able to talk to the person, the parent, the friend, where you have this memory, this pain, this trauma, is another level of healing it. because a lot of times those people aren't in our lives, the ones where we experience trauma. They're not even physically around us. We can't talk to them. So we just make peace with it in a different way, energetically. But I think there could be benefit for the healing process if people could take that, if some 20-year-old could talk to their 50-year-old father about something that happened, right?
Well, I have a few thoughts on that. I think yes, absolutely. And at the same time, what if I'm a 20-year-old and I'm really working on myself and I'm picking up my pieces of wounding from my, I'm not good enough with my father, and my father's still not ready to talk about that. What if he's a, abusive narcissist, or what if he's...
Right, no, you don't want to go there.
Right.
Yeah.
So then it depends on your situation.
Yes,
Your
yes.
person may not be open to have a discussion with you. Like, it may not be a feasible situation. If it's a relationship you're still in, that you commune with all the time, well, my feeling is I can't personally be in any relationships that are close to me if we don't work through something. That doesn't work for me. I need to come to zero and have peace and understanding with people who are navigating my intimate or close life. So if that's someone in your close life, then yes, it's a necessity.
I think now that you said that, to make it clear, is for me doing my work, I'm putting it out to my child that they could talk to me if they want to.
Yeah.
That's different. That's right.
Well, those are two things you brought up. One was you being there for your kids, and then you wanting to have, then you saying it's nice to have the kind of closure or connection
if you
with
can,
someone, if it's possible.
Right.
So I think on the parent level, it's really cool.
So this is really more for the parents who are doing their work, and not for the kids, because the kids probably already know whether mom or dad is open to a conversation.
Yeah.
And if they're not, you don't want to go into that place. It's just going to be more pain. You can't make somebody have that conversation.
Right. And in that case, you'd kind of go with, and in any case, we'd all go with kind of that pick up our pearls process that we talk about, where, you want to go into your memories and gather with your inner self anything you've left within those wounded places. And I have a lot of processes on that. If you're interested, you can check out the YouTube channel. It's all tons of free tools at my channel, Michál Anna. But the other part, I think, is we sometimes can't have closure with someone, and that doesn't mean you can't have closure.
Yeah.
So you don't have to have a physical closure with somebody in order for you to heal from the wounding that has taken place. And also just want to acknowledge and honor Eila for doing that really beautiful parenting and giving that opportunity to your children to be open, because I know as a child, it's hard to breach those things. And I have had to work through a lot of things on my own, and I've had opportunity with my parents as well, because they're fairly open, but not everyone has that, with their parents. And I think it's really beautiful for you to make that offering. And especially, I want to say to the parents too, because you mentioned, I know I wasn't perfect. You don't even have, nobody's perfect. We're all not perfect, actually. And we're all perfect, but we're all just wounded. And that's kind of what it comes down to, is that it's not really about us being perfect or not perfect. We just are wounded, and we make mistakes. We're fallible. We don't all come from, we're not all experiencing unconditional love. We've been hurt. So because we've been hurt, we aren't like a cat. A cat just gives us unconditional love, or a dog. You're just like, it's so good. But people are fallible. We have issues.
And we remember stuff.
We remember, we screw up, and we make mistakes. And maybe you yelled because I was having a bad day. I snapped at you. I wasn't a bad, quote unquote, bad parent. I just had a bad day, and something was wrong for me. And then maybe you're only 4, and now that created an imprint.
Absolutely.
You could also, trauma doesn't necessarily have to, it could be that, Mom, I feel like I wasn't taken care of, and I felt really abandoned by you.
Right.
And you're like, you didn't do anything wrong. We just had that one road trip where 6 hours you didn't eat because we didn't pass any gas stations, and all we had was water in the car. And now you've had this memory for 10 years or whatever. So it doesn't have to be something, we don't want to place any negative or positive, because there's no negative or positive on our experience of something. That's part of why we get into trouble, is we start thinking, you think I did something wrong, or it's a bad thing. It's just that, no, I just have this feeling about it. and it's still imprinted here in me, and I need to remove that energy and work with my little child self that doesn't understand it really. I just didn't understand. We were in the car for 6 hours and I didn't get that. I just thought you didn't want to feed me and you don't care about me. I didn't understand because I'm 4.
Right.
So I have to go get that energy and kind of explain it, and you see your mom isn't trying to hurt you and nothing's happening here, and retrieve the energy from the memory and zero that out. And now I don't have to feel that way anymore. I've reclaimed that part of myself, and I've been zeroed out. And if I get to talk to my mom about that, that's even cooler.
Yeah, maybe another layer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just a better understanding of one another can feel a whole lot better too.
Yeah, and this is really I think this show is really like the recognition of that we're all moving through trauma, so we can really understand that we're all facing challenges, so we can open up more compassion and have more support for one another. The more transparent we become as a society, the less problems can happen, because in my experience in running teams and working in Africa, I run an organization working in Guinea and working with my teams. I really put out to them transparency, honesty. There's no secrets here. Nobody's telling secrets. I don't want you to keep something from so-and-so or so-and-so. We're not keeping anything from anybody here. There's nothing to hide, because you start that train and now you got to keep it up. Now we have secrets, and now you perceive something's got something on you. You start separating and separating. People get stuck in lies and in secrets, and then there's no way out of them. You have to uphold that. And then it can become bigger and bigger. And I've watched some of the people I've worked with over the years do that to themselves. I'm like, what are you doing?
Put yourself in a box.
Yeah. And so
in a corner. Yeah.
Like, there's none of that, and parents can,
parents keep secrets.
Well, my quote unquote child was trying to do that. Like, in Guinea, 'cause I have many people who call me mother, but don't tell so-and-so that I'm asking you for so-and-so.
Yes.
That's not going to work. We're not going to be secretive here.
Yeah.
So the more we just get transparent that, you know what, I actually had a really rough day and I'm dealing with some stuff, and that doesn't make me, oh, you're crazy or you're bad, because everyone's dealing with some stuff. Maybe so-and-so's brother just got hurt. You had an argument with your father. I mean, there's a million things.
Well, and we all deal with stuff differently. How I deal with an issue is going to be different than how you deal with an issue. And I believe some of that could be astrological, it could be environmental, it could be all those things, like how I was raised, what I've been doing. If I don't show that I'm upset, that doesn't mean I'm not upset. It just means that I have a way of dealing with that that's different. And maybe I'm going to be upset in 15 minutes by something. So I think honoring our differences, that we're all different, how we process is different. Some people's mental capacity is different. So it's really important to honor that. And, so.
I absolutely agree with you. And I think if that's kind of what I'm saying, if we're more honest, like, we could just speak to it. So I had a really awesome girls trip, and one of my dear sisters is much quieter than me, and she enjoys just observing and being quiet. And there's 3 of us, so 2 of us are chatty Cathy, and one's more quiet. And I spoke to it, because if I were not as in love with myself as I am at this point, right, in my journey, I could very much feel like, because we've never hung out this way, we've never talked this, I could think, well, why are you so, is she not like me? Is something going on? Does she not feel we're fun? Is it not engaging? You can do all these things in your mind.
You can make it all about you.
Yeah, so it's real easy, and I just acknowledged it as a way to go, hey, I think it's real cool to share with each other what we're like. So just to say, hey, you know what, I'm totally an observer, and I'm totally not going to pay attention to you guys, and I'm going to do my thing. And I love what you're doing. Yeah. It's more this like permission, acknowledgement when you're in space together of what we're doing. So we don't take things personal, because if my friend's coming from father issues or, has been hurt, they're going to be more sensitive to things than maybe that I am, right? Because that's a sensitivity. So we can take things wrong if we don't share with each other. So if we were more like, yeah, today I'm going to be talking a lot because I just came from blah, blah. Or we were kind of just, we didn't feel afraid to show where we are.
Right.
In this society, being honest and just telling the truth is not really like a real
It's not a high value
high
that,
value
that
thing.
I've seen. Yeah.
No. And in fact, when my mom came from the mainland, when she first came back after her being away, she said, I said something real truthful. And she goes, oh, Michál, people aren't that honest. And I said, well, I don't know how not to be. I'm like, they aren't?
Yeah.
What's wrong with these people?
Well, and the thing about keeping things secret that I learned years ago is that it's an energy. So therefore, people know that you're keeping a secret. And there was a period of time that I was hiding some things about myself. And when I reflected, I didn't see it at the time, but when I reflected back, I could see how it creates kind of an air of mistrust. We don't really trust because we're not sure what's going on.
Yes.
Excuse me. Guess that had a cough out. Anyway, I was listening to something the other day. You ever listen to Eckhart Tolle? I don't really listen to him very much. He's this interesting man. Anyway, he said something that it was experiential that I connected with, and it was about how he was at a point in his life where years and years ago where he was saying to himself, I can't stand being with myself. And he said it a number of times, and he was really at a very, very low point. And from that, he had this questioning that was, who is I and who is myself? And I've just been kind of contemplating that concept because I'm someone who looks in the mirror and says, I love me. And it's like, well, who is the I and who is the me? And it's just bringing some stuff up for me.
I love it. So this kind of goes back to what you're saying about environment.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to bring in like a physical fun thing, microbes.
Microbes?
Microbes. So 98% of us is really microbes, environment, like what you were saying, what we put in it. It's all the stuff we put in the body. It's all of like where we hang out, what we do all day, like the environments we're in. That is 98% of our thing, our situation. 2% is your soul, your soul self. The rest is really like, what are you putting in here? Like this thing is navigated, and like back to the bugs are small. So on a physical level, I talk all the time about entities and spirit and clearing out energies and sovereignty and cutting cords and agreements because of the energetics. But we can speak to that in the physical realm as the bugs. And the bugs come with the sugar and the things we're putting in and the chemicals. And if we're depressed and in trauma, usually we're also feeding the bugs pretty heavily because they're there. They come with the trauma. So it's on a spiritual note. That's why with the triangle, we want to pull up our spirit, mind, and body simultaneously because we're tackling this whole mind-body experience. And the bugs are inherently part of it. So the microbes and what we're bringing into our field is going to greatly affect how we're processing our life and what we're doing. So,
oh yeah, as a matter of fact, with you saying that, I know when I've been in periods of eating sweets, my brain doesn't work really well, and I definitely lean more towards struggling through the day in my thoughts. Now, somebody who sees me on the street doesn't know that because I'm still like, hey, happy Eila, how are you today? Yeah, but everything takes a lot more effort when the foods aren't the best for my body. So so that's a really important point.
So the who is the I, part of the I is this avatar that you're creating with your environmental activity. And then the I is the soul that's having this there's the eye that has soul. It's having this long experience and
The
one
long game.
round in the game. We're in the one round of the game avatar.
Yeah.
This is my one round, but I'm the long soul of coming so eternal and so far from here and so big and so vast. And then you go beyond that, then we have the eternal one. And I love this around the, like Rastafari, what that I and I is, it's about is that the big greater I of the eternal I, the infinite one of all that is once you've meshed back into the infinite source. And then the little I, which is the I having this experience.
Yeah.
And so we're acknowledging both of those I's simultaneously as that's what it is inherently. And the more we allow this vessel through our, creating of a temple of that can hold more of the greater I by creating a 98% environment that's conducive to this higher vibratory field, which really doesn't work with bugs. Like bugs and lower densities, they're just too dense for all that yummy good stuff that's the whole eye of Eila to reside fully in the spaceship that you're in. This thing's just like a spaceship. It's like your cool tech, and it's 98%, whatever you put in.
Well, and
it.
I do feel as we evolve and we increase our frequency, whatever the language is, that those critters can't exist in it.
Exactly.
It's like you've evolved to the point where they're not gonna get in there because you've moved beyond that. And you continue. It's not like you get there and then you just coast.
No, it's
you get there and you keep doing it, and you keep doing what you need to do. The meditations, the tools that we talk about, the foods, the thoughts, who you're hanging out with, making sure that everything in your environment is conducive to your evolution. Because we're all evolving and we're all doing it. It's just some of us like to talk about it more.
Well, not all of us. Some of us are devolving, actually.
How do you think that is happening?
Oh, well, very much so. We're in a 3D situation. Whatever goes up must come down. More things come up, the more things go down. There's a balance point in this physics, kind of like in this realm. You might be looking right here in Havi, but now take your scope wide. And you can see it.
Yeah.
So, many are devolving and many are evolving.
Yeah.
It is a kind of balanced system. So some things are composting and some things are growing. That's actually just the process. So unfortunately, in some ways...
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense based on the different things that are going on in the world, in the 3D world that we know about. Yeah, there's...
Yeah, and I think in order for the societal and the 3D, 4D, 5D frameworks of the society, kind of back to this trauma, in order for us as a society, a human society on quote unquote planet Earth, to come into greater harmony, this recognition that trauma is at the base of all healing. We can, I've done nonprofit work a long time, and I want to build a dance school, and I want to do this, and I want to, all these great things. And Julia, but you know what? We can't do any of those things until people have food and health and medicine and feel wanted and secure and have consistency in their health care and feel loved. Like that's really the base of all people being able to have emotionally satisfying and productive lives, is to have a basis and a foundation of love, worthiness, and care. Without that, it is very difficult to be a productive member of society. And so we really need to address this as a society, and we need to recognize that everyone's dealing with some trauma and provide more open services, that this is just the way it is. And it's kind of like getting your nails done. Do you need trauma work? Let's come on in and have a session.
Yeah,
let's
just
work
help each other.
Let's just work, like you could just stop at the trauma center, but it's not a trauma. It's more like, I don't know, you call it something fun. It's like, it's just a half hour of like a little quick meditation and maybe some rose mist and
spiral up.
Maybe we should make one of these.
Spiral up center.
It's a little spiral up center, and it could be, they're like all over the place. You just spiral up, sit down, and get a little like upgrade.
Yeah,
and like
upgrade.
Look at yourself a little bit. Like, what do you need to look at? What do you need to look? It's just everyone's doing it.
Yeah.
Look at a little piece of yourself.
Yeah.
Let that go. Embody something fun and new about yourself, because otherwise, our trauma is ruling the game. we have, I mean, let's take a look at, we have all these very horrible things that have happened in these last 6 years of American society, as well as all these children who've been abandoned, etc., throughout the United States. Those children are in 20 years going to be traumatized adults. And guess what? Unless we start addressing the trauma, that's going to turn into a whole lot of other problems. See, so everything's based on the trauma that all the people are. We want to say, why are those people doing that? Oh my goodness, there's problems over there. But
Well,
we
and
need
they're over
to
there.
we
Right,
need to
it's
address
over
their
there.
trauma. So there's parts of, I think, as we move forward, of ways of new systems needing to be created to address that which is inherently part of this society, and that is this. And then there's also those of you who are like, well, I'm on the path and I'm doing it, and it's plant seeds. Don't take on the burden of the trauma. It's none of our burdens to take on. I've definitely done that myself. Let me take on the burden and try to get everyone out of the trench. But it doesn't really work that way. Instead, we can, I mean, we also plant seeds. I plant a lot of seeds everywhere I go. But it's really what we can do. We can plant seeds.
Well, if you go down in the trench with the people, with the person, with the situation, you're not helping them. You're just now you're both in the trench.
Yeah, for sure. If you're actually in the trench,
Yeah.
and you're experiencing the trench. I've been in the trench, like undercover in the trench, sort
Yeah.
of, like supported in the trench, but it's still, I overtrenched myself.
Well, you were aware. You had the awareness
Yeah, I
of
knew
what
where
you
I
were
was.
doing, and then came to realize that wasn't really what you were going to continue to do.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
plus it, just, you can really hurt yourself trying to help someone else.
And we need you and your light. So if you get too far into the trench, it's a little harder to be the light that you are, and maybe able to help many more people in the space out of the trench.
That's why we need spiral up centers.
Spiral up center.
So there,
I'm gonna write that
spiral up
down.
centers, and then you just have it out. It's like everyone's getting out of the trench so that we can help support each other, because no one can really, pull anybody out. We got to pull ourselves out. So then we come into
Yes.
self-responsibility. So how do we get out of this trauma? We instill and implement self-responsibility. That each individual take responsibility for whatever it is that they're experiencing, and do the deep dives in the inner work to find those places that are still harboring energetics, pulling you into triggers, and ruling your life. So until we want to do that, self-responsibility, take responsibility, we're really going to play out continual programming. And just to remind you all out there, that victimizer programming, Christ crucifixion programming, the main big players out there, anytime you're in the blame game, check yourself, because that is not our natural place. Our natural state, all of us, is just into the awe, to really resonate and vibe with each other as one people.
And with that, we're going to take a station break. Thank you, Michál. And we'll be right back. Stay tuned for more Intuitive Talk Story.
The Kohala Night Market is looking for new vendors. The market, which takes place on the first Wednesday of the month at the Kohala Resilience Hub, is looking for more vendors to participate in the night market. You can sell your crafts and artworks, share the bounty of your garden, or share information about local events, services, and projects to help serve the needs of Kohala. For more information, contact KRH1 at northkohala.org. That's KRH1 at northkohala.org. Mahalo.
Aloha! This is Eila Allgood of Women's Voices. Please join me on Wednesdays between 4 and 6 p.m. on KNKR LP 96.1 FM Kohala. We never quite know what we're going to be hearing because most of my choices are intuitive, unless they come from you, my listening audience, when you call in and make a request. I look forward to playing tunes for you.
On Monday, September 7th, there will be a ceremony at the West Hawaii Veterans Cemetery dedicating the World War II Memorial. The program begins at 10 a.m., and all are invited. We are compiling a digital slideshow of photos of World War II veterans, living or deceased, from Hawaii or elsewhere. If you would like us to include a photo of your friend or loved one, please email it to tom.wojsynski@gmail.com. That is tom.wojsynski@gmail.com. Please include the veteran's information if you know it. Name, rank, unit served, and theater of operations. Please include your name and relation to the veteran. For more information, call 333-0306. Mahalo.
Aloha, welcome back to KNKR LP 96.1 FM Kohala. This is Eila Allgood with
Michál Anna.
on Intuitive Talk Story. And let's talk more about, we were talking about trauma and moving through it. And what I've been looking at is how to be more aware of it. Like where does this, like when I'm triggered, to be able to, if not in that moment, maybe a later moment, take the time to look at where does that come from and get to understand it, because that's the only way that you can pull that root out and heal it.
Oh, I just love that you're saying you're doing all that, Miss Eila, and that has been so fun, because that's that picking up your pearls I talk about all the time. So right when we trigger, right in the moment, you've got 30 seconds before a program clicks in. So right there, Eila says something and it makes me feel uncomfortable. And I'm like, ooh, I'm feeling not comfortable now. Oh, I'm starting to feel icky. It's like click, 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 click. That's what's happening. Click, click. It's about to start. 30 seconds if I can. Here's one tool. Scratch the disc. Gang, 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 gang. Do something
Just
crazy
break
to
it.
break the program from beginning to run.
Yeah.
Can do that. 2, get out of the space. Right then, if let's say I'm home with my sister and that happens, I can go, you know what? I need to use the restroom real quick. I'll be right back. Go to the bathroom. Put your hands on your body. This is the first step in getting in touch with your inner self. And it's kind of easier sometimes when you are in a trigger, because your inner self is right there. If you put your hands on your chest and your stomach, you are like your heart, and then just take some breaths and breathe and close your eyes and ask yourself, hey, inner me, what's going on? I'd like to talk to you. Like, what's happening here? Usually you'll feel an energy, see something here. We are all really different, so there's no right way to have this experience. Just you're getting in touch with what's alive for you. In one of my, I've done this many, many, many times, so it's like you might hear like your inner child going, oh, I was never loved like that, or nobody ever talked to me in the way that felt like that. My little girl is feeling, she was talking to me. I'm like, oh, I love you. I'm going to love you. I'm going to be here for you. And I just breathe into that love. You're zeroing out any energy or thoughts you've had about it, sending it to its rightful place in the light. I do have a great meditation for this. Pick up your pearls on my channel, because there's a lot of little details. But bottom line is you want to release that energy and then bring yourself back into your center. And you can do this so quickly just with the breath and the body, putting your hands on your body and finding that place, coming into center and releasing, and then engage again with your situation. Because right there, it's like right when the trigger's happening, it's like flipping on the light and the roaches are all there in the room, and you flip the light on, they're all like, oh, they're all here. And it's like tons of roaches. If you just turn the light off and walk away, they just all go back under wherever they came from, right? But if you open the light and just, shh, I'm getting all these buggers. That's what your opportunity is right then, because you've just flipped the light on while the roaches are out. So you have the opportunity to get them. If you don't take it and you just, stay in the situation or just whatever, I got to go, I'm just going to go play tennis, forget it. And you don't deal with it and you don't look at what just happened. I just shift. I just basically turned the light off and went in the other room. Said, forget it. I don't want to see these roaches. I'm not dealing with it. The roaches are not gone. They're just going to wait for another day.
They'll come out next time.
And they might even get bigger and build because I didn't do anything about it now. So guess what? They're having babies. They're eating my spit all day.
All right. So one of the things that I've learned recently about myself that I'm working on is that when we're talking about, like, if you get triggered by something, going to the bathroom or removing yourself, my history has been to bolt, like just to walk out, kind of storm out, maybe slam a door. And what I've learned is that's not very mature. That's not really the evolved way to handle that. So I'm becoming more conscious with the trigger. It's like, I want to run out the door, so I must be triggered. So now I'm going to act like a grown-up and say, you know what? I need a few minutes because I'm triggered, and I'll be back in 10 minutes. I'll be back. We'll talk in an hour, whatever I can do in that moment. But it informs the other person who's kind of wondering what I'm doing, what's going on, and so that it's not this kind of drama thing.
Awesome. And this goes back to transparency. Now, if we all recognize that trauma is real, we're all dealing with it, then we would avoid a lot of fights in a lot of places, because then people would do what you're just saying. We all have permission. If we go, hey, right now, anybody listening to the show, we just give each other permission right now. New rules. Trauma triggers transparency. We are letting go. And if you feel something, say something. Hey, I can't talk with you right now, Bob. I'm actually having a moment. Thank you for the moment.
Yeah.
I gotta take off.
I got to take some time.
I don't want to have a trigger and create a problem with you and I. You don't want to create a problem with your mother, your sister, your partner. Let's be honest about where we're at.
Yeah.
See, people are pretending they've got it together, and then they end up screwing it up.
Well, as somebody who's spent a fair amount of time pretending that I had it together, it catches up.
Yeah.
And you don't know when it's going to catch up. But when it catches up, then you have seemingly less control, because now you're just reacting. Now you're really it's more raw. Where if you catch it and you deal with the little things, the little differences that you have in your day with your people, it makes it easier when something kind of bigger happens, because now you've created a pattern, a positive pattern, and it's like, I'm feeling pretty prickly right now. Okay, I need to do something about this. And first, I need to inform that person that I can't talk about this right now. So let's come back to it in a half an hour. I'm going to go meditate on the toilet.
Yeah, exactly. Creating boundaries, and that's another thing. Creating boundaries. So being transparent and honest about where we're at. Creating boundaries. Using your tools to either deal with a trigger, release a trigger, or then work and move through something to collect some of your pieces back. And then I really love to mention one of my favorite processes, which is just the nightly self-reflection. It's just so easy, and it's just really taking time to sit down by yourself. It doesn't really matter where you are. I love to be outside if you can be, but it's wherever you can be, in your room, whatever, and just go through your day. And think about how you were feeling in your day. What was I experiencing, feeling, thinking during the day? Where was I? Was I sad, happy? What was going on? If I had an interaction with somebody that didn't feel good, then what was that? Then I would kind of ho'oponopono if there was some problem or something that had happened through the day. I would ho'oponopono in myself and kind of with that person in the ethers. They're not with me physically. Sometimes it's like the mail lady, or,
Yeah, could be
I
anybody.
can't ever, and then I just ho'oponopono with her. And then, no, may I do this better tomorrow? I'm going to get this lesson. I just intend to be a good steward and to get this lesson and to do a better job of whatever it is that I'm learning, so I make this intention and learn it. So we have to recognize things. And then part of that taking responsibility is not just the awareness. It's now that I move this out, then I take responsibility to say, you know what, please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. That means I'm willing to now make a change. I'm willing to implement something different. It doesn't mean it stays the same. It means now I take that to heart. I learn that piece. And tomorrow when that same thing comes up, because it will, in some form, somewhere, I get to make a new choice. I need to make a new decision. And I get to claim my love, my power, my grace, my love, whatever is is offering up for me in that moment. We're all having all these continual lessons and opportunities to really stand in our wholeness.
So as you were talking, thank you for that. I was remembering something that happened today where I was reading something. It was really very positive about me from somebody else. And there were it was a review thing on Yelp or something. And I was typing them because I wanted to keep track of it. And I thought, it would be really beneficial to me if I could allow that in. I feel sometimes I'm more willing to look at the triggers and the pain spots than I am about the positive, complimentary things that come to me. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do, because I'm such a Virgo.
What does that mean?
I mean, I'm a giver like you. I'm a giver. Like to the core. I've noticed in myself, it's been really easy for me. I've done a lot of things, but it's really easy for me to plug like a cause or a thing or another person way more than myself. And then
when somebody said, I noticed this about myself, and I'd like to understand it at some point, is I notice somebody says something positive to me, and I hear them, but I don't give it a whole lot of vibe. It's like maybe there's some fear that I don't know, I'm going to explode with a nice comment or something, but there's some resistance about the positivity coming in. It's okay for me to blow it out all the time to everybody, but there's something there that it's probably some old.
Well, there is often with people who give and so I've been working on my receiving quite a while, because there is pieces of that come from wound. Often when we give, we're giving because someone didn't give to us. I mean, sometimes we're trying to make up for something. Sometimes it's because, there might be a problem if I don't smooth everything out and give. And, so it might be coming from something greater, like a quality inside of a family dynamic. I know like a lot of times there's, the person who's, like the peacekeeper in the family, that person is usually not comfortable receiving because they're used to keeping peace and giving to the family. And then it's always like, oh, no, don't worry about it. Give it over to my dad. He's the one who needs it. Because you're constantly caretaking.
It's an energy.
It's because you're caretaking the people. So you defer and deflect. Oh, I don't need it. They do. But you and I, oh gosh, I've done a little bit of this myself, because when you are really capable, see what happens is I'm pretty smart myself, and often I'm like, I mean, I don't really need it. They need it more. I see their stuff. They could really use it more than me. Hand it over. Go ahead and hand it over. But then at the end of the day, you sit there, and there's been moments like I just experienced this year. I've given and given and given to a lot of people, and honestly, they don't really care. Like, I mean, they care to a degree, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not.
It's not even about them.
It's not even about them.
Right.
It's just
it's about there's something that I'm noticing that I'm not.
Well, that you could
I'm
actually receive some of that love that you give.
Yeah.
Like, I've given all this love out there, and then when I stop doing that, it doesn't really come back in that same way,
Right.
And I'm like, oh, I would like to create receiving those same things that I give.
Yeah, and energetically, I feel like there's something I need to do that is more open to that, rather than I can say I want to receive, but I have to create an energy that is that.
Well, part of what I agree with you. And I think part of that is, again, being capable. I often find that for me, people think I'm strong, capable, together, blah, blah, blah. So they just don't ever think I need anything. They're like, she's fine. Oh, she's probably too busy. Oh, she's fine. She's good. Don't worry about her. And so then there is no care that goes out because I'm so strong.
Yeah.
And so I've, really had to ask people in my life during this year to I need support.
Yeah.
And I need you to be here for me, because I'm not feeling that way right now, and I'm vulnerable, and I'm in a place where I'm not altogether. I need some help. And so I think asking for help,
I think
being more
that's huge.
vulnerable,
Yeah.
and saying, hey, just because, yeah, I am smart and amazing and all those beautiful things. Yes. And we're all human.
Yeah.
And this is not easy.
Yeah.
This game is hard.
Yeah.
And it can be tricky. And
Yeah,
it
and I
can be
need
tough.
help today.
And today
Yeah.
I need help. And
Yeah.
and I'm open to receiving more of your
Yeah.
help. I'm open. I say to you, I'm open to receiving more of your help, and vice
Yeah.
versa. Because that's where we're going to rise and really expand into more greatness, as if we allow in this back to be transparent. I'm just going to go, you know what? Hey, this is what it is today. The more we're comfortable with just everybody and anything could be going on, the more we get like, who knows what it is? What's your fun, interesting thing? And we can laugh at it and create our trauma to become comedy, and then turn it all that into compost and grow new flowers.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think, humor's been a big part of my life for all of my life. Well, I say that, but certainly as an adult, I've learned how to use humor and find the humor in things. And I think it helps process certain things, certain emotions.
Yes.
It doesn't all have to be serious. And, oh, my God, I think I saw that with my mom. She was really serious and depressed. And it was like seriously depressing.
Well, I got some great feedback. Yeah, right. That's not fun at all.
No.
But someone who listened to our sadness show was sharing with me that they loved it because they said
we were
in
laughing
the
a lot.
midst of sadness and grief, we were so jubilant and laughing and being playful. And honestly, like, it's kind of like, what else are you going to do?
Right.
Like this whole earth game it'll make you cry heavily unless you laugh.
You got to find
It's
the
the
humor.
absurdity, because
Yeah.
this whole go wide here, and we're in a big, wide, absurd earth game. And the only way out is in, as I've said many times.
Mm-hmm.
So it really is back to the inner work, back to the recognition
I
of
think
these
if we can
greater items.
laugh at ourselves, and as I mentioned about my mom being very serious and not terribly funny, when I was at a point in my life where I felt a little more confident as a teen, and I would imitate her, she would laugh, and that helped me understand. It helped me understand years later. Ellen DeGeneres talked about her mom was very depressed, and that's where her humor came from. It's like, yeah, I could see that, because you're constantly wanting to lighten somebody up that you live with, that you care about, that you love them, and you use humor. And it's not a bad thing to do that. It's just there's more to it than that. But I think it's really beneficial to find humor in situations.
And then there's another piece of that receiving part that you just talked about, is that your mom, you were in a position where you're always trying to give and lighten up. So again, deflecting, because I'm the caretaker. I'm the one I'm doing okay, and these people need help.
Yeah.
So you deflect, you're giving it over to them, like, give it to them, don't worry about me. So this is also just going, you know what? Eila's worthy to have. I deserve a bubble bath. Who gets a bubble bath? Me. Who's getting a long massage? I am. Who's going for a spa day? Some pampering, some luxury, and some practicing of receiving. So to everyone out there, practice receiving. We all need to practice receiving. Treat yourself beautiful. All men, women, we all deserve a bubble bath. We all deserve to, whatever your form of that. It's just a saying, really. I haven't had an actual bubble bath in quite some time, but I've had many clear water baths and beautiful ponds and, magical places, experiencing nurturing and taking that time to nurture ourselves and know that it's all okay, that we're all kind of screwed up in the game and making our way through it. And we are going to make our way through it if we really get honest, hunker down and laugh at ourselves and use our tools and make time to nurture and play. And, it's easier for a rich man to get into to get through an eye of the needle than to get into the gates of heaven, right? Because he's so stoic and serious and staunchy and attached to everything. He said, be like a child unto God, right? So these are what we get to play in, is let us be kids.
Yeah, and find the things that work for you. I mean, we're all different. As you were talking about a bubble bath, I try to take a bath once in a while because I feel like it's a good thing. and I don't really enjoy it. I find it very hard to relax in a bathtub. It's a little boring. It's a little, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it's whatever you want.
Yeah, so it's
Whatever your
right.
version
So
is.
whatever it is for you, and the moon's been so beautiful. I've been just like bathing in the moon glow and the stars, and you know, we can kind of access that here. So
I do have to say, on just a really side note there, the moon has been amazing, but it was really bright, kind of like a light. And
Yeah.
that honestly is a little trippy to me. The moon's a reflector, not a projector. Any thoughts out there? Interesting stuff.
all right, we got to
Okay.
go. So thank you, Michál, and thank you to everyone out there listening. You've been listening to Intuitive Talk Story with Eila Allgood, and
Keep it real. Michál Anna here. Have a beautiful day.